We need to start educating people, like focusing on self-development, focusing on growth, a well of potential and a well of power within that can be nurtured to really live a life of love and joy and prosperity and abundance. I was tired of seeing people just get beaten down by success narratives that don't serve them. The idea that success is linear, the idea that you have to be perfect, an energy and essence alignment audit. That's what we call it. So, where's your energy going? Where is it being siphoned? Where is it being pulled? Where are you giving it away unknowingly? And is any of that energy going towards yourself? Is any of that going towards nurturing you?
Happy birthday to you.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the No Half Cakes podcast. My name is Jim Sabelko, and it is an honor to have you here with me today. Today, I feel is going to be a really special show because, to be honest with you, I actually started the show a few minutes before I introduced this, but we started really diving into the topic of empowerment and leadership and just how personal and important it really is as a topic, because building leaders, helping people discover their true authentic self, empowering people is not just something that we use as keywords to try and attract traffic. It's something that I personally feel very strongly about, and I know our guest feels very strongly about as well. And that's why I'm just excited to have this conversation, because I think it's such an important topic. And when you approach it from the person side, more so than the KPIs and the metrics, well, those are important, but to look at how we actually treat the people and ourselves in the process, I believe is really important and a great conversation to have. So with that being said, I'd love to introduce our guest today, Alexis Christy. Alexis, thank you for joining me. I'm super pumped to have you here.
Thank you, Jim. Grateful to be here.
Yes. So if you could give me a brief background as to kind of how you even got into this topic and really what your specialty in this is.
Absolutely. So I have a huge background in human services and psychology. That's kind of where my educational background is. It wasn't always there. I grew up wanting to teach. I grew up wanting to write. I grew up wanting to kind of be in the journalism space and study people, study artistry, study craft. And my life just kind of, the saying, like, your calling will call you. You don't go searching for it. That's kind of what happened in my case. And so I ended up in the field of human services probably 10 years ago. And when I went back to the drawing board to write, I started writing about people and awareness, self-awareness and addiction and recovery, and sort of like all of the conditions that make us human. And I knew then, like, this is the important stuff. This is the important education that, number one, our kids don't get in the school systems, right? And sometimes don't get at home. And it's the stuff that really we are all connected by, just in the experience of being human. No one is insusceptible to emotion, to thought, to trauma, to experience. And so my real driving factor for getting into this space was, we need to start having conversations about this, and we need to start educating people and themselves, like focusing on self-development, focusing on growth, teaching people that there is like a well of potential and a well of power within that can be nurtured to really live a life of love and joy and prosperity and abundance. So that's kind of why I got into this space. I was tired of seeing people just get beaten down by narratives that don't serve them, success narratives that don't serve them. The idea that success is linear, the idea that you have to be perfect in order to start, that you have to, fit into a box. And so I really just, it's my mission in life to really nurture people to start within and really make sure they're feeling empowered and educated and can nurture their true essence to bring it out to the world, because we all have a gift. And so that's kind of my philosophy.
Yeah, I love that you said that. And I think that's such an important part that a lot of people are blind to. You know, we get stuck in the day to day, we get stuck in living everyone else's dreams and their demands, that we forget, you know, all of us have that special calling that sometimes is hard to see. So for someone who's sort of new to this process, where do they typically start and try to figure out, like, what does my gifting look like? Or am I really that capable? Because there's a lot of self-doubt when someone starts, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I would say it always begins with that self inventory, right? Like something that I do with my clients is an energy and essence alignment audit. That's what we call it. So where's your energy going? Where is it being siphoned? Where is it being, pulled? Where are you giving it away unknowingly, right? And is any of that energy going towards yourself? Is any of that going towards nurturing you? So kind of just, it starts by really doing that hard inventory and taking a really good hard look at your life. Are you happy? Does your job bring you joy? Are you doing what you love? Are you around people that you love? Are you around people that uplift you? And kind of figuring out where the gaps are, what narratives am I still subscribed to that are not serving me, and getting really real about that. And then, from there, I do a lot of work with human design. Have you heard of human design?
I've heard of the topic, but I don't have a great grasp on what it means. So educate me.
Yeah, absolutely. So human design is something I recently brought in to my process. And I think it's an invaluable tool because it's a holistic self-knowledge system. If you've ever taken like a Myers-Briggs test or an Enneagram test, the human design combines all of that. Combines Myers-Briggs and combines quantum physics, astrology, the Kabbalah. Like, it's just this holistic way of looking at our nature and our nurture. So what are we designed with already? And there's no good or bad. It's like, what do we have within us inherently, energy wise, right? Because we have all of these energy centers throughout the body. What are we designed with? What are our strengths? What is our unique way to make decisions, to move through life, to best support who we are inherently? And what are we here to learn? What are we here to discover? What energy centers are not as inherent for us? Where are we here to receive and then to teach others, to serve others? It's a really, really, really holistic way for people to not only get that, yes, we're all unique. Like I've said that, and I will keep saying it a million times, right? I try to drill that into people's heads. Like, you are perfectly designed. You're perfectly designed with all of your strengths, weaknesses. I don't even really believe in weaknesses, because your weaknesses are there for a reason as well, right? But you have everything that you need. It's just a matter of nurturing that and bringing it out into the world, not being ashamed of it, not being embarrassed of it. But when people have a visual to see that, to get that, like, wow, this really is who I am. And it's powerful. I've taken people through human design and they've interviewed differently because of it. They have started a business that they've been thinking about but didn't take the leap on because of it, because they're able to see themselves in a different way, and not in a way that is, well, I have to fit into this box. Well, in order to be a business owner, I have to be salesy. Well, in order to do this, I have to be this. No, you just have to show up as you, authentically as you. And that is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said that because I think one of the things that people struggle with a lot is showing up as themselves when they feel like for their entire lives, whether that be 20, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever that period is, they have believed they were somebody different. Right. So for a long time, they were under false assumptions of who I really am. Right. So when they take this test and they discover, hey, I maybe not am who I thought I was, that could be a scary experience, but it could also be really freeing. Do you think?
Absolutely. I think I think what happens with us as human beings, we are so inundated with what we should do, who we should be, what we could do, who we could be. I mean, from the time that we're born up until adulthood, right? Like, well, you should go to school, and this is how you should, after school, this is what you should do, and you should go into this career because it's going to make you money. And we are so inundated with the expectations of, you know, others, people in our life, but also society. There are societal expectations. And I think, I speak from personal experience. I was one of those people who was an academic all-star student, in high school, sixth in my high school class, AP student, honors student. I had everything going for me. I had the accolades, I had the accomplishments, and everyone had these big expectations for me. Everybody, knew me as the person who was going to go out and do big things, right? And all I wanted to do was write. I wrote for my school newspaper. I had a music column. I was the news editor. All I wanted people to know about me was what my gift was, right? I wanted to share my gift. And nobody, nobody read the paper. they just, oh, you're going to go on and you're going to do big things. And I got accepted to all my schools. And during that time, high school was probably one of the most grueling times of my life. I was clinically depressed. There was a lot going on in my home life with my parents' relationship. I was homeless in my junior year, and nobody knew. Nobody knew because I kept performing, right? My grades didn't slip. I just kept going. But because I kept going, I never had that moment to grieve. I never had that moment to breathe. And so I went off to college. I went away for college. And it was my first semester where I was like, this is not for me. This is not for me. Like, this school is not for me. This program is not for me. It's not sitting right with me. I don't belong here. And so I made the choice in my first semester of college, I made the choice to transfer out. And I came back home and I wanted to go to broadcasting school, but it was the difference in people towards me because I had made that choice for myself. And the other thing people didn't know is at that time, I was struggling with an eating disorder that consumed 4 years of my life. So making that decision was not only like, yes, I don't belong here, but it was also like, if I want to live, I need to leave, right? And I need to take care of me because academically, I'm ready to be here. Professionally, I'm ready to be here. But mentally and emotionally, I'm not ready to be here. And when I made that choice, it was no more Alexis, the girl who's going to do big things. It was no more Alexis, the all-star. It was Alexis, the college dropout. It was Alexis, the girl that's throwing everything away. How could you do this? We're disappointed in you, right? So those expectations, which weren't mine, I had expectations for myself of following my dream and getting into the field of work that I wanted to be in. But everyone around me had all of these expectations that robbed me of being human. And so for a long time, this is what I think happens with us as human beings. Those expectations stifle our ability to show up and be vulnerable. They stifle our ability to show up authentically because we're worried about who's judging us, who's looking at us, what are they going to think? If I make this choice for me, what is everyone else going to think? And so now it's like when you go to make a choice for yourself, this is what I tell everybody. This self-development, empowerment journey, empowerment revolution is not glorious. It is not sunshine and rainbows. Most of the time, it looks like taking a step back, sacrificing something, grief over the idea that you had for your life that's changing. And people don't realize that. The amount of grief that comes with choosing yourself and saying, I'm unsubscribing. I'm unsubscribing to these expectations, to the weight or the guilt of other people's opinions of me. And I'm choosing me. That takes an incredible amount of courage. But it's also really hard. It's really hard. And so, I think that's what keeps us from really stepping out and making those decisions for us. But when we do, there's this greater understanding that because I'm making this choice for me, I'm also making this choice for you. I understand the magnitude of my authenticity. If I show up authentic, I'm more loving towards you. I'm more present with you. I'm more supportive of you. I'm more in compassion. I'm more in joy. And that has a ripple effect on the people around us.
Yeah, I believe that so much. And what you bring up such a good point there. And the people who are comfortable in that level of discomfort, right? I think a lot of people have gotten to be complacent in saying, hey, maybe this life isn't really what I want it to be, or I don't know if I'm truly successful, but I'm comfortable here because I'm afraid of going through the process of change, or it feels scary. I'm brought back to when you said, like, in your high school years where you're sixth in your class, you're, the all-star, but were you truly successful? If you were struggling with an eating disorder, if you're struggling with homelessness, if you're struggling with depression, like, is that success, or is that you're living out someone else's definition of success, right? And now you get to the point where you've done the work. You've gone through the process of the thing that's uncomfortable people are afraid of doing is figuring out, like, hey, I want to understand who I authentically am. Let me go through the process. Yes, it's going to suck a little bit. It's painful. I don't disagree at all. The process of going through that is uncomfortable. But the freedom that's on the other side, the glory on the other side, the happiness, the joy, the actual true success on the other side is 1,000 times better than any happiness or success you're going to feel before you go through it.
Yes. 100%. Because it's also sustainable. It's more sustainable when you are directly connected to who you are. When you are directly in connection to that person, it's more sustainable because you're not waking up for a paycheck. You're not waking up for the accolades. You're not waking up to prove to everybody else. You're waking up because you're connected. You're connected to your why. You're connected to who you are, and you know how powerful that is. And when you get paid for it, when you get loved for it, when you get nurtured because of it, you get celebrated for it. Like you said, it's the payout, the reward on the other end is so much greater than the fake it till you make it, the performative success that we're all used to, right? That we all see on social media, or we've heard of within our circles. It's so much more powerful. It's messy, but I think that's what makes it it makes it more beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. It actually reminds me of, and this may be an odd statement, so bear with me, but it reminds me of the feeling of being on vacation. Let me explain why. I feel like a lot of people, they love to be on vacation because in the morning they could wake up and they don't feel the burden of the normal 9 to 5, or they have to go through all these other things they have to do. So it's not that they love vacation so much. It's nice to be in nice places, don't get me wrong. But they really love the feeling of waking up and being free. They love the feeling of waking up and not having to rush through their morning to go sit in the car and go rush to work, to go grind through an 8-hour day and come home and do all the stuff. But when I say that, I mean, I feel like when you go through the process of figuring out who your authentic self is, you can do that every day. It becomes not a burden to live your life because you are yourself. You are free, right? So every day you get that vacation type feeling of, man, I can wake up today and just do what I'm going to do because I'm me and I'm already aligned with where I'm supposed to be. Right? I think that's so important.
100%. And I think the key word you used there is freedom, right? That's one of my top values. It's why I do anything that I do in my life today. And I think it's kind of what we're all after. And it's not just freedom of time. It's not just freedom of money. It's the freedom of self-expression. It's the freedom to just show up and not feel like, God, I have to be perfect doing this. Or, I have to check this box and this box and this box. It's just that is wealth. That is true wealth. Having that freedom to be an expression of who you are and also do what you love or be around the people you love. The freedom of time to use that time in a way that feels really good to you, and that I made that choice probably concretely like 3 years ago. I was like, I'm not doing any more work that doesn't fulfill me and also contribute to the greater good of people. No. If it doesn't meet those two requirements, I'm not doing it because we're it. That's it. Like, this is the human experience, right? And so it's all about us nurturing ourselves and serving others. That's it. That's what it boils down to.
So let me ask you a question, because I think there's a really, I don't know, awkward spot, let's call it, where someone can get a little too comfortable in their soft spots. So if we're talking about, hey, this is who I am, I'm going to accept me for my strengths and my weaknesses. These are the things that I'm naturally great at. These are the things that I'm maybe not so great at. A person could very easily just be complacent and say, I'm meant to be average. These are things that I'm not great at, so I'm just going to settle for this so I don't have to go through that pain. And now I'm me, but it's a false me, right? Is that fair?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And to that, I would say, I'll use a phrase that one of my good friends and colleagues, Andrew Schoenfeld, he's actually a licensed clinical social worker. And he's very unconventional in what he does and in his practice, but he says life's mandate for us is to grow. That's life's mandate. Life's mandate through anything that we experience, right? Like down to the uncomfortable emotions, right? Because we don't want to feel pain. I get it. It's not like we're signing up for, oh yeah, this is going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. We don't want that. We are a species that's like, I want to relax. I want the ease. I want the instant gratification, right? I want the guaranteed success at the end. Hand me the piece of paper, hand me the money. You know what I mean? Like, we want that instant result. But everything that we do, everything that we experience, down to our uncomfortable emotions, our uncomfortable emotions are not designed to keep us out of the game. They're not designed to shut us down. They're actually an invitation. They are an invitation to see ourselves in a different way, to discover ourselves in a different way, to learn more, to grow, right? Life is constantly inviting us to do that through our experiences, through our trauma, through our emotions. It is an opportunity to rise to that mandate. but we're designed to like numb out, we're designed to run away, to avoid the uncomfortable. If we could understand that there is value in the uncomfortable, more value than we've yet uncovered, then I think our fear would lessen. I think if we could know that like this is gold, there's treasure here, start digging, we'd go towards it a little bit more.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes with repetition. And what I mean that, people, when you go through that the first time and you look back and you say, this thing sucked, but this is the gold that I was able to get from going through that, then the next time you're a little bit more likely to go through that with a little bit more positivity, saying, hey, I understand this is going to suck, but who am I going to be on the other side of that? What am I going to get from that process? And I think, as you start to go through this more and more, like the reality of it doesn't change, right? So all of these things happen to us. And I want to make this super clear. I still have sucky situations happen literally every day of my life. I'm sure you are the same. Life is real for all of us. Okay. Yeah. But like, we can choose how to respond. And I think that's the important part people need to understand, is that just because we are here saying, hey, we are two successful, happy people, does not by any means say that we don't also struggle with the mud that the rest of us go through. We get it. We just understand, hey, this is an opportunity to grow. Sometimes the lesson is you made a poor choice, right? Sometimes is, you just have to understand that maybe you did something wrong, is what it is. But ultimately, it's an opportunity for you to understand where you can grow and how you could be the best version of yourself, right? So I think you brought up a great point, and that, people need to look at that as an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to, operate in excellence in all areas of your life, not just say, oh, I am deficient in this area, so woe is me, but at least I'm authentic, thumbs up. I think that's a great point.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're deficient, right, to use that word, if you're deficient in something, or it's just a weakness of yours, our constant battle is it nature or is it nurture? Well, it's both, right? That's the beautiful thing, is that some things are within your nature, they're inherent, and you have consistent access to them. And you don't have to work as hard as maybe the next person for that particular thing. But your deficiencies, your weaknesses, your, things that don't come as natural are where you nurture. That's how you nurture, right? And that's what it's all about. It's like, oh, cool. I'm here with this deficiency to learn, to grow, to practice, to be around people, right? That's another piece of it, to be in connection to others that can teach me, that can support me, that can enhance me in some way. And so, something I live by is to talk to the point of challenges and the fact that, guess what, you're going to do this work and you are going to continue. You're not going to get away from having, like, you're not going to have this peaceful, everything is great type of life, right? You might, most of it may be that way, but I think it's about training your brain and training yourself to seek out the joy and the value in life. And so something I live by is, when life is sweet, say thank you and celebrate. And when life is challenging or difficult, say thank you and grow.
I love that. That's a really important point for people to take home. Because you're right, it's not always going to be sweet, but it can be if you use it to your advantage. Like, I think, just to hammer that point home, it's for all of us in this human experience, we go through so many emotions from day to day. And, especially when you look at the world around us, sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's full of conflict and it's ugly. But we can use it as an opportunity to come together, right? And I think that's sort of the beauty in that, right? I may be deficient in a certain area that you may be strong in. So for us to be able to come together and put our combined forces together and say, hey, here's an area which you're amazing at, here's an area which I'm great at, let's put those two things together, and now we can serve even more people and both of us rise, right? So instead of focusing on, hey, here's an area which I suck at, poor me, it's like, all right, cool, here's an area which I can grow. Let me also celebrate this other person and lift them up, right? And it's this community environment where instead of us being solitary, where we start to come together and serve each other, support each other. And I think that level of community really helps everyone elevate.
100%. 100%. And that's what it's all about. That is why I want people to get, you got to stand up in your power. Like, forget it being perfect. Forget trying to hide your gift because you don't think it's worthy. Forget all of these outside narratives that have told you maybe that it's not the traditional, path. It's not the traditional gift that we're celebrating in this world. Stand up in what you got. You got it. That's why you have it. There's this, and it's incredible when you're able to see what happens when people get that. They move differently. They speak differently. They behave differently. And naturally, people the world around them starts behaving differently. I mean, it's a ripple effect. It's a ripple effect. And at the end of the day, and my motto has always been, it starts with you, right? It starts with you, it starts with me, it starts with all of us individually. That is where you start. You start here and you allow that to radiate to the world around you. You'll have everything you need. But when you work from the outside in, it's a little bit more difficult.
It is. And it reminds me a lot about, what we talked a bit about reality before. And when you say it starts with you, I think, a lot about your view of the world around you and how you view things as an opportunity or a threat, right? So when you say it starts with you, if you come into the day with a joyful heart, where you're grateful for the opportunity in front of you, where you're looking at things as how can this serve me? Not what is this going to do to wreck my day, right? Because when you come into the day with this positive outlook, you start to see things as how they can help serve you, right? Instead of when you start your day saying like, man, woe is me, today's going to suck. You view all these same things as the problem side, right? And that affects your relationships because then you're nasty with the people around you. Right, so when you say it starts with you, I love that so much because I think that it can't even be understated how important it is to be an authentic, joyful version of yourself. And, to what you said before, when you're chasing someone else's definition of success, how impossible that is. Right. So just to hammer that point home, I think you said it so beautifully.
100%. Thank you. And you touched on just now that belief system, right? Like if we start the day with, it's going to suck. That's rigid. That's a closed statement. There's no room to receive there, right? Like if I say, I'm a loser, I'm not going to be able to do this. That's closed. That's a closed statement. So now we're already priming ourselves. I've already decided. I know what I'm going to get here. I know how this is going to go. Anything that attempts to come in for us, it's blocked by this closed statement. But if we say, I'm curious about what this day has for me. I'm curious about where we go from here. I'm open to the possibility of experience. Now we're primed to receive. And we're open for that experience.
Yeah, I love that so much. So before we wrap up here, I do have a couple other questions I want to just go over with you, if that's good. My first question would be, if you had one bit of advice to give someone for how they could live a slightly better day today, and I'm talking about something that's like actionable they could put into work today to feel some of that joy and success and that happiness, what would that bit of advice be?
I would say, maybe it's cliche to say this. You've heard it probably a million times, but start with gratitude. Really. Gratitude is the one thing that has the power to instantly instantly shift your lens. And I don't mean like, oh, I'm grateful to be alive, right? Like that's the first thing we go to. Sure. Go a little deeper. Really challenge yourself to look around your life and say, if you're grateful for employment, what got you to that employment? Who put you there? Why are you grateful for them? Are you grateful for them because you were able to be, in expression of your full self? What, and when you go deep with that, you'll realize that the list that started here, I'm grateful to be alive, is really like miles long. And you'll start to, again, prime your brain to see how truly abundant your life is. Seek out the joy. It's always there. There's always something there. Because if we're in that closed mindset, like we were talking about, if we're in that closed mindset, that's it. That's all we got. And we're focused on the lack. We're focused on what we don't yet have or what we are not yet within ourselves. But if we really draw out everything that we have inherently, we draw out everything that we have in our life, that just grows exponentially. Write it down, speak it out loud, go tell the person you're grateful for them. Just spread it everywhere and watch the magic that happens.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think that's one of the best ways to start your day. I can't even emphasize enough how important it is to have that gratitude. Actually reminds me of something else I've started doing fairly recently on that, because I've started my day with gratitude for a long time, but I recently started also adding in grace into that mix. So giving people grace who have either maybe wronged you, offended you, done something where you took offense to, even if their activity was neutral, but you interpreted it as a personal attack. Giving love to people who maybe traditionally might not deserve it, quote unquote, right? But that to me is another like little power up to add on to that. And I just wanted to share because that also has been transformative for me. It's very freeing feeling, right? And we talked about freedom before.
Yes. And I'll tell you, just to really quick add on to what you said about grace, I think some people find that incredibly difficult, myself included. And, sometimes there's a person or a situation where you're like, man, I just don't even understand how I'm going to get to that point to give this person grace, right? Number one, remember your human nature. We all are connected by our human nature. At the end of the day, we are all human. Number two, the way you combat judgment is by getting curious. So that's all you need to do. When you're faced with having grace for someone or something, just get curious. Why? What might that person be dealing with? What can I learn here about them? What can I learn about this situation? You don't have to automatically have that grace or forgiveness, but you'll prime yourself to be more open.
Yeah, I love that. It's such an important topic that I feel people don't talk about enough is grace, and like how freeing it is. We talk about freedom. How many people are stuck living with these negative emotions we keep inside because of some experience we've had with someone who maybe they made that decision or they acted out or they did a thing where they were in a really tough spot where they might be carrying around that shame and guilt, where now you're angry at a person who's angry at themselves, and the two emotions really just multiply instead of cancel each other out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I think if we could learn to be more curious and give each other grace, I think that would help a lot of people unlock a lot of that negativity and start to be a little bit more grateful. So I love that. All right, so my last question for you, a bit of a curveball from our current conversation, but I'll tie it in together, I promise. What would your favorite dessert or cake be?
Yeah. Can I pick more than one? I love brownies. I love cannolis and red velvet or carrot cake with cream cheese frosting. Can you tell I have a little bit of a sweet tooth?
That's okay. So is there any like core memory attached to any of those that brings you back to a certain experience?
Um, I would say cannoli. My best friend is a pastry chef, and one year I know, one year she made me a cannoli cake. It was actually my 23rd birthday, and it was probably one of the worst birthdays of my life. But she made this beautiful, beautiful cake, and it was way too big for me to eat. But my birthday is fairly close to Christmas, so it's like the birthday where no one else is around because they're traveling for the holidays, and it's nobody has the money to do anything. But that cake was just, I mean, I took a million photos of it, and it was just so precious to me. And coming home from the city, because I spent the night in the city, and it's just a really, really dark time in my life. But coming home from the city and seeing that and knowing that she had taken her time to make that for me was really special.
I love that. And I think it really helps to hammer home a point that we've made a few times, and sharing love and sharing grace and sharing positivity with other people, and how important it is, because you really never know. That's amazing. No, thank you.
Go get yourself a cannoli cake.
Yes, I need a best friend who's a pastry chef. Stat.
I'll send her your deets.
Sounds like a plan. Well, anyway, I really just want to thank you for this opportunity to speak, and for you to share all of your knowledge and wisdom. It has been an honor for me to have that. I know I've learned a lot about that. Any way that we can support you going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, just want to say I'm grateful to you, and I'm so happy you use this platform to do really, really, really important work in the world and to reach people, because that is also my mission in life. So, anybody wants to reach me, they can find me at www.alexischristy.com. I offer personalized one-on-one coaching as well as human design deep dives. You can also find me on Instagram at Alexis Christy Coaching, or on Facebook at Coach Lex.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's a wrap. I think this has been an amazing show. So again, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim.